the light elements. He ordered them to disintegrate the enemy standing in front of them. He launched the attack, but it got absorbed by the space crack cross splash attack. All the summoned light elements were absorbed, and now that Zhang's out of enough light elements to launch a high-level light attack, he used a minor version of one of its offensive attacks, but it also got blocked by the sword drag slash of the enemy. A sudden cloud of dust came out in the atmosphere, and Dawn Ray shot multiple magic arrows into it. They were happy to see that their plan was working, but then a voice came from the dust cloud that suggested they not get happy this early in the match. He came out of the smoke and told them that he would have given up by now if this was a normal match, as all of his teammates are down and he himself is injured because of the arrows. He pulled out an arrow from his shoulder and asked Zhang if what he said was true or not. Zhang agreed, saying that he had not expected him to get up this early. He said that he had also not expected 4 of his teammates to be down by a single attack of theirs. At this point, he would have given up on the match, but since he is fighting for his father's sake, he'll fight till the end. Zhang was at his limit. He ordered him to stop talking and end this battle quickly, as he's not going to give up on this battle either. Zhang was barely maintaining his balance. He had used up all of his magic, and he was fighting with himself to remain conscious. Dawn Rai and Swiss asked him to stay at the back while they handled the situation. They both dashed towards the front, where Dawn Rai used his magic arrows, only for them to get blocked by the leader's sword. He praised Dawn Rai by saying that he's the best archer that he's ever faced. It was a difficult task for him to dodge his arrows, which are laced with pinpoint accuracy. He said that if he would like, he could let him join his second group. This made Dawn Rai angry, as he was here because of elite kids like him. He refused this offer on his face and dashed into him with his Swiss backing him up. The leader of the Wind Dragon team asked Zhang to bring Xiao Jin to the battle, saying that it was the only way for him to win this battle. Swiss ferociously crossed swords with him, saying that he's fed up with people looking down on him. Swiss used a broken chip of the leader's sword to stick his own sword in it, trapping his offensive movements while Dawn Rai was behind him, ready with magic arrows to shoot his unprotected back. But just at that moment, the leader released his secret ability, called the Thunder Leopard Sword Technique. A big explosion occurred, which threw away Dawn Rai and Swiss. The leader's sword was broken with the sheer amount of force that he had just shot out of it. The leader told Zhang that he should just surrender at this point, as he's the only one standing from Team Halo. Even the thought of surrendering made his blood boil. Zhang furiously said that it was impossible for him to give up. Zhang again sought help, but this time he asked the gods of creation to give him strength in exchange for his life force. The leader was shocked to see Zhang still freely collecting energy from the environment. But as soon as he started his attack, Master Wen came behind him and made him unconscious by hitting him on the neck. Master Wen called him a fool for using his own life force for the sake of a mere victory, which doesn't even mean anything. He was glad to arrive at the right moment, as if he got late even by a single second, he would not be able to forgive himself. On behalf of Team Halo, Master Wen surrendered and gave away the victory to the Wind Dragon team. This decision shocked everyone, including the Duke. Master Wen told the leader that he'd apologize to his father and fulfill the conditions of the bet that they had made. The tournament ended with the sad defeat of Team Halo. The next day, Zhang woke up in a completely unknown bed. He saw Sean near him and asked him about the place. He told him that they were in the palace of the king of the Xuda Kingdom. The king heard about their stubborn battle and because of it, granted them permission to seek medical care from the royal palace. Also, the incidents between Master Wen and Duke Filch went smoothly, where the Duke didn't embarrass the teacher and also didn't accept his apology, which ended the matter completely. Zhang thought of himself as a failure for not completing what he had started. Sean stopped him from bad-mouthing himself and told him that he's the one that he genuinely respects. He told him that he, along with Swiss and Gay, had decided to support him after the battle with the King's team. They will now become his companions and will follow him wherever he goes. Even though Zhang had lost the tournament, he had received a much more important thing, loyal friends and companions. As Zhang was having his breakfast, Teacher Wen arrived and suggested that he eat less, saying that if he eats a lot, he'll face various problems as his body hasn't fully recovered yet. Zhang apologized to him for not completing the mission that was given to him, but the teacher appreciated him and warning of never to use life force magic again. He also told him that this failure, instead of hurting him, had taught him a lot about himself and his powers. He had to work hard from now on in order to grow stronger. A few days later, after their complete recovery, Master Wen took the kids to meet the king. The king was also pleased to meet them and was happy to see their fighting spirits. He also offered them to stay in the palace and work for him. But since all of them still had a lot to learn, they politely turned down the offer and told the king that they'd return to fulfill their duties once they'd learned enough. The king was an open-minded person who understood their points and gave them advice for the future. Everyone returned back to the Royal Knights Academy, where Zhang was feeling the real comfort that he was unable to find in the luxurious beds of the palace. Even after the tournament, the 5 of them remained together like brothers. They combined their training and martial arts practices. Doing so, 3 months had passed again. Zhang did not want to leave his friends behind, but he had a mission that he needed to fulfill. He went to Master Wen and showed his gratitude towards him. He thanked him for everything that he had done for him. Master Wen also did not want to let him go. It was like he had become his own student. Zhang said that he had always been his student, and he'll come back to meet him once he fulfills his mission that was given to him by Master Dai. Master Wen told him to spend the night with his friends and bid them farewell so that he could leave tomorrow early in the morning. Zhang was worried about their reactions when they learned about it, but he courageously told everyone that he was going to leave the academy tomorrow. Everyone's reactions were pretty normal. They were nothing like what Zhang had expected. Before leaving the academy, Zhang went to the prince of the Exuda kingdom to keep his promise to Zhan Hu. The prince, Sham Yun, greeted him and told him that he admires strong people and that he's one of them. Along with admiration, he has a feeling of friendship towards Zhang. Zhang also accepted him as an honored friend. The aura and behavior that he shows are the exact same as those of his big brother, Zhan Hu. Zhang asked Shan Yu, the big brother of Zhan Hu, if he happened to have a little brother. Shan Yu understood that he had something to say about him, so he asked Zhang about it. Zhang told him that he's on a mission to the Exuda kingdom, given by his little brother Jing Yun. He had asked him to check on his family. Shan Yu questioned him about his whereabouts and the reason he's not coming back. Zhang told him that he could not tell him his location as he had made a promise with Zhan Hu, but he told him that he was safe and sound. He's been troubled by his past incident with his Earth Dragon, but Zhang knew that whenever he realized that it was not his fault, he'd come back to the kingdom. He also asked about the king. Shan Yu told him that the king is a very strong person, but recently he's grown weak and frail. He didn't tell anyone this, but he missed Jing Yun more than anyone else. Zhang asked Shan Yu not to tell the king about this conversation and asked for 1 year. He said that in the next 365 days, he'll bring Zhan Hu back to him. Shan Yu appreciated the efforts that Zhang is making for his family and told him that if he ever needs any kind of help, he could ask him or the royal family of the Exuda kingdom. He also gave the 2nd Battalion's Medal of Authority to Zhang to use whenever he needed it, as it holds a special political power in itself. The scene shifted to a wooden hut at the academy, where Zhang had arrived with Dong Rai. In the hut, he met Tuo Lun and told her that if she really liked Dong Rai, then she should take care of him and understand him better than anyone else. Both Dong Rai and Huo Lun blushed, and she ran away from there. In her mind, she realizes that whatever Zhang had said was true, and it's really her duty to improve the life of the one she really likes. She had decided to get along with Dong Rai and turn him into a bold and fearless man. The next day, Master Wen was ready to bid farewell to Zhang. He was also ready to go, but no one else came. Maybe they were sad, or maybe they were busy. Who knows, but Zhang didn't feel bad for it, as he knew that everyone has their own paths with their own problems and their own objectives. But there's also a next time when all of the unfulfilled wishes come true. He walked on his way and after some time saw a familiar symbol. It belonged to the Mercenary Guild, and near the symbol he saw Long Meng. At the Mercenary Guild, Long Meng was very happy to see Zhang after such a long time. He had thought that Zhang had been killed by the robbers who took him the last time he had seen him. Zhang told him that he was fine all the time, but had never had the time to come back to him because of his training. Long Meng's heart was at rest knowing that Zhang had been safe all this time. He asked him to join him for drinks, but Zhang refused, saying that he was on a mission given to him by his master. He had come here just to meet him. Long Meng said that he'll accompany him on his mission so that they won't part again. But Zhang told him that he could not take him with him as this mission was going to be very dangerous. Long Meng insisted on him, saying that he's not afraid of any dangers, but Zhang shifted the topic and asked him if he could learn from a great teacher and then join him in his quest. Long Meng said that a great teacher is what he also wanted. Zhang wrote a letter and asked Long Meng to visit the Royal Knights Academy and give this letter to the Dean Master Wen. He'll arrange all the requirements for him. thus letting him obtain the best knowledge of martial arts he had imagined. The Royal Knights Academy was Long Meng's dream school. He happily took the letter and bid farewell to Zhang. Now that Long Meng had gone, Zhang also left. On the outer gate he saw his team, Don Rai, Swist, Sean, and Gay. Don Rai told him that he's been pretty late, as they've been waiting for him for more than half a day. The Swiss asked him to depart. Zhang didn't understand at first, but then he realized that the whole team was coming with them. He asked them if Master Wen had allowed them to come or not, but it turns out that Master Wen was the one who encouraged them. They also told him that they'd changed the name from Team Halo to Halo Mercenaries, and with that, the Halo Mercenaries embarked on a new journey. Their first destination was the secret base of robbers, the home of his elder brother, Zhan Hu. After a very long time, they had reached the spot where a guard stopped them. Zhang told him about himself and made him remember him. The guard realized that and called Zhang the second elder. He took him inside, where Zhang met with his brother Zhan Hu. He was very pleased to see him back. At night, Zhang and his brother went to a hill while the others were enjoying their time in the village. He told Zhan Hu about all the experiences that he had. He also told him that his elder brother had been promoted to the position of Light Knight. Zhan Hu was overjoyed to hear this news. Zhang told him that Shan Yu told him how much he and everyone else miss him. He had made a promise to Zhang that he would not tell the king about his brother. After listening to Zhang's experience, Zhan Hu had decided to go back to his country and back to his family, but before that, he wanted to help Zhang in his quest to find the sacred sword. He said that he'll not be able to rest easy knowing that his little brother went on a dangerous quest like that. He wanted to help him in any way he could. 2 months after that night, Zhang and his team had finally reached the Dalu Kingdom. From the map, Zhang noticed that they were still 122 kilometers away from the Kinaxing district, where the sword should be. They went to the first town at the entrance, called Lunhua Town. It was an advanced town that prospered because of trade routes that made it profitable. Zhang told everyone about their location and the situation. He told them that they had to reach the Kinaxing district, where the sword is hidden somewhere in the valleys or in the forests. Zhan Hu suggested Zhang keep a detailed map of the Kinaxing district, as the one that he has is a large-scale one. A detailed map would help them look into the caves and valleys of that place one by one. Zhang liked this idea and asked Don Rai to accompany him to the market so that they could buy the map. The same happened. Zhang and Don Rai visited the map seller and asked him for a detailed map of Kinaxing. The map seller also showed him a special map that he had. It was an ancient map of the western mainland that was at least 200 years old. While looking at that map, Zhang remembered the face of that pink-haired girl that he had met at the beginning of his journey. He wished to see her and got lost in her thoughts. Don Rai called him out and asked him why he'd been looking at the map of the western mainland. He told him to buy the map of Kinaxing and went back to the inn. Zhang bought both maps and went back with Don Rai. On their way, he asked Don Rai about Hong Xu. Don Rai asked him to stop making fun of him as Hong Xu belongs to a royal family while he is not even a commoner. Zhang told him not to look down on himself and asked him if he liked her or not. With a blushing face, Don Rai nodded his head, saying that she's not bad. Zhang got that he likes her too, just the same way she does. He suggested that he have a good relationship with her. He said when the time came, Master Wen would help him himself with that matter. At the Longjing forests of the Kinaxing district, Zhang and his team had arrived. At the outer core of the forest, Zhan Hu stopped everyone and told them that he had sensed some kind of danger in front of them. He pulled out his sword while Zhang used his evil dispelling magic. Just then, a sudden explosion occurred following a voice that ordered them to leave the forest immediately. The voice also warned them that if they didn't leave the forest now, they'd be trapped in it forever. Hearing that voice, Don Rai came forward and asked if the person who was instructing them was a human elf. The person behind the bush thought that Don Rai was imposing his superiority over him, knowing who they are, but Don Rai told him that he's also an elf. For a moment, a strange silence prevailed, which was ended by the rustling of the bush, from where an old elf came out, who carefully observed Don Rai and told him that he was just a human who had morphed into an elf. He asked him why he had brought so many humans into the elven forest. Don Rai was shocked to hear such harsh words coming from another elf like him. Zhang came forward and defended him, saying that there should not be any kind of discrimination against anyone as everyone has their own circumstances. He asked the elf, who he is, to ban them from going into the forest, as if he had bought the forest for himself. The elf didn't stand Zhang and caused another explosion. Zhang dodged the attack, and the old elf said that his hand slipped. He again attacked Zhang, but this time he blocked the attack with a light shield. Seeing Zhang's defense, the old elf understood the reason for Zhang to be this arrogant against him, and that he could get into deep trouble if he faced all of his team members together. The Swiss came forward and, in a civilized manner, introduced themselves as the Hilla mercenaries and told him that they did not have any bad intentions against him or the forest. He told him about their quest to retrieve the sacred sword. The old elf cooperated with him and said that they should have told him before. He told them that there's no chance that they could find the sacred sword, as it's been hidden for many centuries and thousands of people have tried to find it, but no one has ever succeeded. Zhang, in an angry way, asked him if he knew about its location. The old elf said that the statement that Zhang had just made was true, and he could even take them to the sword, but on the condition of helping him. Zhang asked him what kind of help he wanted. The old elf vowed with a pledge in the names of the elven elders that if the humans manage to defeat the dark elves, he will tell them the location of the hidden sacred sword, and if he does not, he'll be ready to face any kind of punishment that the creator gods desire. Zhang agreed with this pact and asked the elder elf about the dark elves. The elder elf told him that the natural elves like him have been the nemesis of the dark elves from the very beginning. Their strengths were completely equal, and because of that, the battle of superiority between them had never ended. But recently, this balance of power between these two classes had been broken as the dark elves started overpowering the natural elves. If this situation continues, then there's a very high possibility for the natural elves to go extinct. As the elder of the natural elves, it was his duty to find a way to protect his species, and for that reason, he was going to meet a friend of his so that he could seek help from him, but on his way, he stumbled into Zhang and his team. While this conversation was taking place, there was a fierce battle going on between the natural elves and the leader of the dark elves. The natural elf was barely sustaining himself in the battle while the dark leader was overpowering him. He said that he'd end his legacy with the next attack that he was about to launch. The natural elf started preparing for an attack to counter the upcoming one, seeking help from the elves. The impact of these attacks clashing against each other caused a giant explosion, which ended up destroying the place. The natural elf was at his wit's end just then when Zhang arrived on the scene and used the 9-division light to fend off the Dark Elven King. The Dark King asked them their identities along with the reason why they were interfering in elven affairs. Zhang told him that they are humans, and they have a reason to interfere in their battle. He asked the Dark Lord why he couldn't live peacefully with the natural elves in this huge forest, as fighting against members of the same species is rather senseless. The Dark Elven King told him that dark elves are the true elves and others are just too inferior to even walk into the forest. He warned them to leave the forest before he killed them all. Zhang, on the other hand, mocked him, saying that his plan of taking over the whole forest would never be fulfilled with the rented powers that they were using. This caught the Dark King off guard. He asked Zhang how he knew about it. The Dark Elven King ordered his warriors to prepare an all-out attack for them, but Zhang told him that the last attack that he had used was not made of dark magic that dark elves should use. He warned him to retreat with his soldiers. He would wipe them all out. Zhang called out the light elements around him and condensed them into the level 8 supplementary magic called the Irradiated Land. This spell works in a very large radius, and it is severely destructive to dark magic and dark elves. On the other hand, it empowers the natural elves. All the darkness at that place was being eliminated, and the dark elves were suffering from pain because of Zhang's spell. The Dark King ordered his soldiers to gather their magic and retreat for now. While he was running away, he warned Zhang that he'd never forget this loss and would surely come back to get his revenge. Zhang came down on the ground, and the Elder Elf thanked him for saving their lives, saying that there was no other way they could have survived this. In his mind, Zhang thanked the Dark Elves for their decision to retreat, as he had already used all of his magic, and if they hadn't retreated, then they would have had no way to fend them off. The Elder Elf asked Zhang for another favor. He wanted him to heal their king, who had been badly injured in the current fight. Even though they used all the healing methods that they could, the king's condition is still not improving. Zhang agreed to try healing him, so the elder took him to the king, who was suffering from some kind of dark ailment on his body. Zhang called out the light elements and used their power to heal the king. After a while, the dark ailment that was present on the king's neck vanished, and his face showed a sign of relief. Everyone was happy to see the king being cured. They were all overjoyed and wanted to repay him in any possible manner, but they were not sure what they should do, so Zhang told them to prepare a feast, saying that it would be enough to repay them. The elder immediately gets the best elven dishes prepared for them. Everyone enjoyed the meal to the fullest. The Elven King thanked Zhang, saying that he'd always remember what he had done for them. Zhang said that it was all a part of their deal, and for anything other than that, they had already replayed it with the food, so there's no need for them to feel indebted. Also, it's only natural to help each other, as it's the right thing to do. The king told him that everything that he had said was true, but the one thing that he knew was to thank him for what he did. The king told them about the sacred sword, a weapon left for them by the gods that had the power to destroy the entire world. This legendary weapon is hidden somewhere in a divine forest, a place only natural elves know about. Godhood said that they are very lucky to have some knowledgeable natural elves around them. He requested that the elder take them to the divine forest. The elder agreed, but also told them that he'd only guide them to that place, as they would not be able to enter it because of the protective barrier. They agreed with this condition and were ready to depart, but the king stopped them and told them that he was afraid if the dark elves would attack them again, as he wasn't in a shape to fight them. For that, Zhang gave them a magic instructional book that he had written himself. With that assurance, they once again continued their journey in search of the sacred sword and finally reached the barrier. They all tried their hardest to break the barrier so that they could enter it, but failed every time. The thought of giving up lingered in Zhang's mind, but then it withered away as he remembered the time and efforts they had put into this journey. The disappointment that Master D would feel when he knew that his best disciple had failed in the quest would be immeasurable. Seeing Zhang covered in such deep stress, Donray suggested to him not to overthink it and to remain honest about everything. He told him to rest for the night and continue once again in the morning. But Zhang was not able to sleep, so he started meditating while thinking about Donray's words about being honest and sincere. As he was repeating his words while trying to find out the mistake that they could have made, he heard a voice asking who had disturbed his long sleep. It was the barrier that was talking to him. Zhang said that he didn't want to disturb him, he was just looking for the sacred sword. The barrier said that he should stop his quest right here. Zhang asked him the reason, and the barrier said that it is getting a feeling of his kindness, and because of that, he doesn't want him to die. Zhang insisted, and the barrier told him that inside it was a very dangerous place, with 3 trials with increasing difficulties. He must have passed all 3 of them in order to get the sword. Zhang thanked the barrier and told him that he'd remain careful. He woke everyone up and told them about this incident that just took place. Donray called him abnormally lucky, and they all went inside the barrier. Inside, Zhang stopped everyone as he had sensed something dangerous coming towards them. They were giants. As soon as they entered the divine forest, Zhang and his team were attacked by stone giants. Zhang decided to go into the center of the forest, while Swiss and Godhood cleared the way from the front. Shan and Gay handled the rear, and he was with Donray at the center. They all took their positions and started moving forward. Zhang used his magic and called out Xiao Jin to help them. Godhood was injured in his battle against the stone giant. He told them to go ahead and leave him behind. Zhang said that's not how they work, as they will all die together. He remembered his decision to enter the forest even after the warning given to him by the barrier. If he hadn't underestimated that warning, then they wouldn't have been in here. Donray came from behind and motivated Zhang, saying that they'd all leave this place with the sword as no one was going to die here. Zhang was pumped up, but then, seeing his friends all getting injured, he was left with no other choice. He collected and condensed all the light elements near him and used the illumination spell to defeat the giants. With the illumination spell, Zhang defeated the stone giants. He took everyone along with him while riding Xiao Jin. He found a safe place where there were no enemies, so they landed there and rested for a while. Everyone was glad to have remained alive and well. Later, by the campfire, Zhang told them that there was something he was thinking about, and now he had come to the conclusion that they all should return. Godhood became angry as he said that they all came here together, so now they'll not leave this place without completing the quest. Zhang said that he did not want them to risk their lives for him, as this was his mission to begin with, and he'd completed himself. The Swiss said that they all knew how dangerous this mission was, even after knowing that they had accompanied him. Even now, no one wants to go back. Shan said that they are not cowards who run away from challenges. He said that they'd face them head on. The Swiss stood up and asked everyone if any of them wanted to go back, but no one agreed, which proved that no one wanted to leave Zhang alone in a place like this. Zhang remained silent for a moment, but after that, with a big smile on his face, he thanked everyone and called them the best companions. Now that everyone was happy, Godhood suggested they plan their next move in this divine forest. 3 days have passed inside the divine forest. Zhang and his team were still looking for the sacred sword that they had to find, but they were unable to do so. As they were walking near a mountain, Zhang felt the presence of magical waves from the top of the mountain. They went up there, but there was nothing but an ancient magic circle. Zhang did not know how to use it, so he took out the booklet that Master Day had given him. He started reading the book, and in just 3 days completely finished it. There was no clear answer that was written in the book, but Zhang had gotten a vague idea of how they could operate this magic circle. He created a magic ball and asked the magic circle to use his magic as a medium to take them to their desired location. He asked everyone to stand in the hexagram as the magic circle was about to get activated. The magic circle activated and teleported them into a dark cave. Zhang used his light ball to illuminate the area so that they could find their way into the tunnel. They had been teleported under the mountain. Zhang got the feeling that the sacred sword was lying somewhere near them. They started looking out for it while Zhang and Swiss were leading the way, while the others were asked to remain at the rear. After some time, Zhang felt like they were walking in circles as if this path were a maze. At one point, he found the floor to be weak and empty. Zhan Hu used his sword against that part of the floor, which caused the rumbling of stones and debris from the roof of the cave. Zhang protected them all using his light shield, but soon they all fell into a deeper cave as the floor beneath them had collapsed. When they opened their eyes, they found themselves inside a huge divine temple. Zhang confirmed that everyone's okay. He then heard a voice that welcomed him into the divine temple. Zhang asked if it was the speaking barrier that he had met outside. The voice denied, saying that it was called the King of Gods. The voice told them that they had reached this place after facing and completing a lot of challenges in the divine forest. They had all passed the tests of courage, strength, kindness, and intellect, and as a result of their hard work, they had reached this divine temple. Zhang asked him if they were going to get the sacred sword now, but the voice told them to listen to a story first. Long, long ago, there lived 2 clans, the Divine Clan and the Monster Clan. They were each other's sworn enemies. The Monster Clan numbers were evil and much larger in number. The Divine Clan tried to fight against them, but it resulted in their own demise in the form of complete extinction. But before that, some divines came together and used their remaining powers to seal off the Monster King. But in this process, they also sustained some serious injuries that even 100,000 years later, they are unable to recover from. The sealed Monster King was also cultivating himself, and finally he had recovered some of his monstrous ki, which was being released into the earth. They have been given a new mission, which is to find and eliminate them. For this mission, they have all been given new bodies with the powers of the Divine King. He also asked them to come in front of the statue so that they could receive a special reward. Zhan Hu went forward and was given the armor of Kratos, the god of war, with the hope of becoming an actual war god. The Swiss were given the Horn of Zeus, which had the power to bring the dying people back to life. Sean was given the Hammer of Hercules, a very suitable and powerful weapon for the welder of a heavy sword. Gay was given the Shield of Thor to protect himself and those who could not protect themselves. The 4th reward was given to Dong Ray, the Bow of Zephyr, with the hope that he would help in the prevalence of justice on this earth. Everyone received their gifts and was happy with them. Everyone thanked the King of Gods for the rewards that were given to them except Zhang, as he's the only one who hadn't received anything. He asked the King of Gods, who said that he was expecting him to be more patient about it. Zhang understood that he was pulling his leg. After that, he was given the sacred light sword, which was given to him in the form of an orb. But as soon as the orb came near him, it just went into Zhang's chest. Everyone was surprised to see what had happened. The King of Gods said that he should drop looking for the sword, as it is now a part of his body. He said that Zhang is not ready to wield the great power of that weapon, while others are using secondary weapons. This is the one that he, the King of Gods, has wielded himself. Zhang asked him when he would be ready to wield the sacred light sword. The King of Gods told him that he should go to the Crack Valley in the western country, in the middle of the human-demon border. He had to train there until he was recognized by the God of Light. He said that he could go to that place easily, as the Demon King would not be coming back for the next 5 years. The King of Gods also taught a forbidden spell to those who had their weapons in hand, which means everyone except Zhang. He also told them that they should train themselves until their strength reaches the level of a battle god. But for Zhang, that limit is a bit higher, as he had to first become a Grand Magister before that. He angrily asked the King of Gods how he could become a great Magister. The King of Gods told him that the first thing he needed to do was get himself recognized by the God of Light. Only after that could he initiate the realm of a Grand Magister. Zhang had decided to go to Western countries. The King of Gods had also passed the forbidden spell to Zhang. who tried to chant it at the moment but then stopped as it was a very advanced spell. Zhang and his team came out of the divine forest into the elven village, where they were welcomed by the elder elf and the king of natural elves. They had also taken care of their village using the book that was given to them by Zhang. The king of elves was very happy to know about the whole incident and wished that when the time came to stop the monster king, the elves would also put all their efforts into helping them, as it was their duty to fight for their own country. Janhu asked the elven king if he had any fruit wine left with them, but there was none. They left the elf village and stopped at a crossroads where they had to part ways. Janhu asked Zhang to take good care of himself. Zhang wished him the same and told him that he'd return once he came back after training. The Swiss also bid him farewell and said that they'd surely meet after 3 years. On the other hand, Dongri was feeling shy. He came to Zhang and told him that he'd miss him a lot. Zhang told him that it's not like they'll never meet again and bid him a happy farewell as well. He asked everyone to take care of themselves and left for his own path. Zhang had finally come back. On his return, he first met Odi, who had grown a lot. He introduced Zhang to his girlfriend Luoyo. He wished them luck and went to his home to meet his parents. As he arrived, his parents rushed to the door to meet him. They were overjoyed to see him after such a long time. They all missed each other a lot. They took Zhang inside, where her mother cooked him some of his favorite meals, which he enjoyed a lot as he had been missing her cooking for a very long time. He told them about his journey, his adventures, and the friends that he had made. With everything had to end, and so did his time with his parents. He left his home and walked towards the academy. On his way, he remembered the erase scrolls that were given to him by Mater Dai. He used one of them and instantly got teleported right in front of Master D's house. As soon as he arrived, the gate in front of him opened, and Master D came out. He was also very happy to see him, and after carefully observing his mature face, he now understood that Zhang had learned a lot from his journey. He asked him about his next target. Zhang told him that he would like to return to the Royal Advanced Magic Academy for a few more years so that he could continue his training and prepare himself to fight against the Demon King. Master D made all the necessary arrangements in just 2 days, and Zhang was back in the classes, but Maki was in another class. In the recess, he asked a girl about the direction of his class. It turns out the girl was the same pink-haired girl from the Demon Clan. She looked familiar to him, but he was not able to identify her. He went into the class, where Maki realized Zhang and hugged him. He said that he had a lot to tell him. Looking at Zhang and Mark, Maki is Mark now, and the students of the academy were having weird thoughts as very few of them knew about Zhang. They were calling him gay. The actual gay just left 2 chapters ago, but the other side defended Mark for his skills. Zhang asked him about Hai Yu, but he tried to change the topic as he did not want to talk about her. She's still a student at this academy, but her interest in Mark has never increased. She still treats him like trash, and now she even has a boyfriend. Looking at Mark's expressions, Zhang understood that his feelings for her had never diminished. For her to behave like that towards someone whose love is genuine for her, Zhang got angry and was ready to teach her a lesson. But Mark didn't want to talk about her. He told Zhang that he had matured and had improved a lot since the last time he met him. Zhang took out a light orb and showed it to Mark. He was very curious to confirm that he had already reached the level of a mage, as he didn't even need to chant a spell for that. Mark told him that he was still stuck at the same level and hadn't grown. Zhang told him to take every step patiently and asked him not to rush anything. He also told him to infiltrate deep into the hearts of his magic elements. Mark asked him about his quest and the sword that he was about to bring with him. Zhang told him the truth and said that he had made a lot of new friends on the way. Mark remembered the time when he wanted to go with him, but Zhang cheered him up, saying that they'd get a lot more chances in the future. As they were talking, Mark saw Hai Yu walking by. Zhang saw her and realized that she had grown prettier since the last time. There was a boy walking next to her who turned out to be her boyfriend. Zhang took Mark to greet them. Zhang greeted her and she remembered him. She introduced her boyfriend to him. His name was Feng Liang Rai. He had recently joined the academy. Zhang pulled Mark from the back and asked him to say hello. He said hello, and Hai Yu was pissed off. She furiously asked Zhang if he had come here on Mark's behalf. At this point, Zhang tried to take his argumental revenge and kind of succeeded, but Hai Yu left the scene. Mark was sad as he had once again gotten on her bad side, but Zhang was angry with this attitude of hers. Now that recess is over, Zhang and Mark went back to their class. While they were having their loud conversation in the class, the teacher was listening to them as they were talking about almost everything. Mark said that he had something that he wanted to tell him and promised to forgive him for not telling him about it before. John guessed that it was about his family, which was correct. He asked about his family out of the 3 great families, but before getting the answer, John felt a killing intent and used his light shield. It was the teacher who had thrown a piece of chalk at him. John furiously asked him why he threw that on him. The teacher even more furiously asked him if he was here to listen to his lecture or to chat with his friend. He sent Mark back to his class and ordered John to come to his office after the class. Later, while the teacher was yelling at him, the pink-haired girl came by and mocked him. He was already at his limit, so he threw something at her. He shouted and told the teacher that John had hurt him. The teacher again started yelling at him. He looked at that girl, and she gave him a demonic look of arrogance, which terrified him. Later in the class, John told her about himself and being the disciple of the Dean of the Royal Intermediate Magic Academy. But she didn't believe him. John gave her a death stare, but she in turn gave him an even more intense death stare, terrifying him again. John admitted his defeat in this stare contest and started writing something on the paper. He gave that paper to her, which she read and crumbled into a ball just to throw away. The lecture ended, and soulless John came out of the class. He was looking for Mark, but then the pink-haired girl entered the class and picked up the paper that she had thrown and read it again, only to realize that. The next day, John had the same heady breakfast that he normally has. Mark was not surprised to see him having that much food for himself, as he knows about it, but for those who didn't, John said that he needs energy to study, and he gets that energy from food. While he was eating, Hai Shuik Sing arrived at his table and greeted him. She said that she had heard about his arrival and had come here to greet him. John remembered her, and Mark told her that she's currently the most beautiful girl in the academy. She was blushing while John asked her if she needed anything. She said that she had arrived here just to greet him and then left. As she left, Mark told him that she'd been thinking about him since the time he defeated her. John acted maturely and told Mark not to say nonsensical stuff, as it's not their age for that kind of thing. He then asked him what he wanted to tell him about his family. Mark took him into a vacant room and quietly told him that he was the second son of King Cross Ordell. He wanted to find some trustworthy people who could help his family in the future, and he asked John to help them. John was pleased to know that his best friend is a royal. Back at the class, John was sleeping while the pink-haired girl tried to wake him up, but when the teacher hit him with a chalk and asked him about the problem, he answered correctly while also giving a live example, which the teacher was not even ready for. The class ended, and John asked Mark to have a battle with him. Mark told him that he should try to participate in the Academy's top 10, in which the first position was taken by Hai Shuik Sing, and the third was taken by Mu Zemo, the pink-haired girl. John finally knew her name. He told Mark that there was going to be some entertainment for them to watch after the classes.